There's a confusion about the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party challenge in Atlantic City, some born out of ignorance and some out of deliberate deception. Most often, the challenge, the MFDP challenge, is described as a protest. Well, it wasn't a protest. Sit-ins are protests. Freedom rides are protests. Picket lines are protests. The challenge was just that, a challenge. It was saying the so-called regular Democratic Party of Mississippi has violated its own rules. It has participated in the systematic discrimination of black people, black registered voters. Here's our evidence, affidavits and like of people's experience all over the state, which we had been collecting all summer, which is why we're sending these groups there. So therefore, this so-called regular group should not be seated, and we have followed the rules. So therefore, we should be seated. I mean, this is a legal challenge. As a matter of political practicality, we knew that we wouldn't get a majority of the Credentials Committee to sign off on this. But under the rules of the Democratic Party, if you got a minority report, and that was 13 members of the whatever size, I forget the numbers now, but I think we needed 13 members of the Credentials Committee to issue a minority report supporting the challenge of the MFDP, and that would force the chairman of the Democratic Party's convention to bring it up on the floor of the convention for votes. And we thought if it got to the floor of the Democratic Party, we'd win. Because nobody doubted that there was discrimination in Mississippi. The bulk of those delegates, and almost all of those delegates, were sympathetic, partly because of the murders of Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman that had begun the summer, which had brought Mississippi to the attention of everybody, partly because of just the legendary viciousness and violence of Mississippi with regard to race. So the question was, can the argument of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party get to the floor of the convention? Two ways. Either a majority of the Credentials Committee votes, yes, we support the MFDP, or a minority votes, yes, and forcing a minority report to be brought up on the convention floor. And that's what Lyndon Johnson was fighting to prevent. And he's arm twisting and he's brutalizing his delegates, and by brutalizing, I mean politically brutalizing them with threats. So here's a guy over here, and Johnson is saying, you think you're in line for a federal judgeship? Not if you vote for the MFDP. It was really a brutal exercise of raw power from the White House.